Hello, welcome to 15 Minutes of Consulting Best Practices. My name is Maria Isabel Rios. Welcome. As you have probably figured out, David continues to be on vacation. And so please write in the comments some inspiration for me. What is your favorite place, your favorite vacation spot? And that way we'll get started. All right, Deidre, can you show us the first question for today? Thank you. I am facing an RFP process for the first time. I've always been the sole source before. Should I do anything different in the discovery and proposal process? I assume I should be a bit less aggressive on fees, of course. Thank you, John, for submitting your question. No, actually, we don't think you necessarily should be less aggressive on fees. So here's a few things you can do in an RFP process. The first is, do you actually want to be in a bake-off? Let's assume the answer is yes. Usually, but not always, the consulting firm that helps write the RFP will win it. So if you can participate in the process of writing the RFP, determining what's the success criteria and what the prospect is looking for, fantastic. Say you didn't because you came in later in the process, or you don't have a relationship that will allow you to do that, or the internal client team already posted the RFP and created. Then the next step is to really understand what are the success criteria. What criteria are they awarding the RFP in? And you do that by having a conversation with the folks at your prospect. So one idea is to ask them, same way you would do in having a context discussion, get the full context, add that question. On what criteria are you awarding the RFP? What does success mean to you in the context of this RFP? And then align to that. If there's opportunity and you need to, reframe. Meaning reframe how they are thinking about success, reframe how they are thinking about their desired outcomes and where the value lies. And ask your prospect not to share your reframing. That it's from you, it's from your firm, and that will differentiate you from the rest. All right, hopefully that's useful in terms of an RFP. Let's do the next question, Deidre, please. All right. I'm transitioning my firm to follow our consulting group model of focusing on a niche. Excellent, great job. What information should be included on my website during this interim period? What does it need to look like? Current site provides nothing. From Judy. So Judy, first of all, congratulations for changing your model and focusing on a deep area of expertise. Your website, really simple. It's not necessarily going to get you business. What we want at this point is for your website not to be a deterrent of new business. So what do you need? You need an image of you, good quality, professional quality, obviously your name, your firm's name, contact information. Ideally, if you have a form where folks who are already on the website can type in or write an email from there, fantastic. If not, your contact information is fine. And what is your area of focus, your newly found area of expertise? That's it. That's all you need to start in terms of a website. As your firm grows and your practice grows, you will develop more depth around it as well, and add content to your website. But at the beginning, your image, contact information, the name of your firm, your area of focus, that's it. Pretty simple. If all of you who are listening have started with a different approach to your initial websites, please type it in the comments. We'd love to see them. All right. Hopefully that's helpful. Deidre, do you want to do one more question? No, please. Thank you. I've heard you talk about brainstorming relationships with people in your network core. Yep. What does that mean? And how would I go about asking for one of these brainstorming sessions? Thank you, Robert, for your question. All right. What do we mean? when we say brainstorming relationships. Say there's a prospect or a client with whom you've done successful work before, where you work together, and you're either doing projects or you're finalizing a project, and you're not quite sure what the next project is. What we suggest is that you do a modified version of the term, which is called the overture. And you can look for it in one of David's articles. He gives you a script. Basically, it's an invitation to problem solve together. And what you do in that session is speak with your contact and say, look, what are the most pressing, most urgent issues that you're tackling today? And how do they match against your priorities? You collectively put all of those on the table, and then through a very open conversation, think, okay, where could we help? And where would our help be most impactful and be most valuable to you? Where are your resources? And what do you have in terms of your own internal team and what you can dedicate? And where can we as a firm complement that internal team or add expertise? And that's what, in general, will result in a map of either immediate opportunities or opportunities that will open down the line as certain milestones become available. And that's generally what we mean when we say brainstorming. So easy conversation, set it up with the overture in which you ask them whether they're open to have a separate conversation in which you explore ways in which you can work together. And look at different elements of does that, what are their pain points? What are the needs for the next few months? Again, resources, both in terms of people, of capabilities, of budget, put all that down the line. It will help them structure really their needs. If nothing else, you created a framework for them that they can themselves use in conversation and leverage with others. And that is very, very, very valuable. All right, Deidre, let's do one more question. I've heard you say that if a firm has over $150,000 in revenue, it should have an executive assistant. Yes, you've heard it, right? I passed that threshold and don't know what to do with an EA. What am I missing, Joe? Well, thank you, Joe. This is one of my favorite questions to answer. A lot of us who grew up in consulting firms or in industry are used to kind of taking on elements of the project, right? From the sublime to the most elementary elements of a project. And you probably grown and set up your firm that way in which you are managing all of the elements. So step number one, from our perspective, is take a look at what is taking your time today. Take a look at where are you investing actual time, not theoretical, right? Because we all know, conceptually, I should be spending 20% of my time on business development, another 20% of my time administering my firm, and the rest in delivery. But we encourage you to do an activity that it's very kind of calendar focused. Take a look at your calendar, look at what you're actually doing, and then think out of that, what do you want to delegate? Or what could you delegate? And what should you delegate? There's a nuance between the two elements. Certain things are delegatable in terms of skills required, or practically somebody else could do them, but you may want to retain them for yourself. Some firm owners want to retain taking a look at the financials, right? Giving approval for payments to vendor or managing cash flow. They may want to retain that themselves as examples. But there are other elements that would invariably come up that you'll see that are things you could delegate, and perhaps you should. What is the objective of having an executive assistant or somebody supporting you is to create more space for you. Invest that space in business development. Invest that space in your firm, treating your firm as if it were your client. Once you've done that, you will see that the return on investment, the ROI of having an executive assistant is actually pretty high. So not because you can do everything, it means you should. And a part of growing and sustaining a firm is kind of learning which elements you can bring others to support you in. Now, a pushback we often get is, well, it would take me time to train my assistant, and it's not evident that I will immediately see an ROI. Fair. So a couple of considerations for you. One is, do you want to hire somebody with experience? The more you have defined what kind of metrics, what tasks the person is going to support you with, what does success look like for them, the easier it will be for you to find somebody that has relevant experience and can take on really quickly at least some of that. An executive assistant can also generate efficiencies over time in terms of creating systems, creating processes, and creating a structure for you and for the rest of your firm. So would it take time at the beginning if you don't have it well structured yet? Yes, it would, a little bit, right? You need to pave the road before you can build on it. So one idea is do it little by little as you work through engagements, understand what can you delegate of your administration and of the elements that support delivery. And once you're done with that initial step, it is the time to bring on an assistant and let the assistant build with you the rest of the processes and the rest of the systems. In our mind, there's absolutely no doubt that if you find an executive assistant that delivers with quality, and there are quite a few out there, you will see a phenomenal return on investment as you grow your firm, and you will see an enabler also of your time and of your quality of life. All right, hopefully that's helpful. A few things before we close today. First thing, if you're not connected with us on LinkedIn, please do so. You can connect with David by doing LinkedIn/David A. Fields. You can connect with me by doing LinkedIn/MIRIOS, MI Rios. And that's our first request of you. Second request is that if you haven't yet subscribed to David's articles, please do. You're in for a treat. They're light read and they're oftentimes pretty funny. davidafields.com/subscribe. And our third request is that you keep submitting questions for next week LinkedIn Live. Submit them, please, to info@davidafields.com. The quicker you submit them during the week, you heard me speaking to very specific names today. These are folks who have submitted questions. The earlier you send them to us during the week, the earlier we can put them in our queue, and hopefully you'll see me next Monday sharing some thoughts around that. We hope that today has been useful, and to see you next Monday. Have a great week.